City Church Arts and Conversation event. We are so happy that you could be with us on Friday night. I know there's a lot of events virtually happening on Friday night, so it means a lot to us that you all were able to join us. My name is Mina Choi. I'm the founder of the Magik Magik Orchestra.
And I am Claudia Escobar. I'm the director of Dear Homeland.
And I am singer-songwriter Diana Gameros.
The one and only. You are all in for such a treat. We are going to be treated by Diana for some wonderful music together with the Magik Magik String Quartet. We're going to do a deep dive into the film and pick apart some key scenes from the film with none other than Claudia, the filmmaker. And we're also going to do a live Q&A at the very end of the event. So throughout the event, if you think of a question, just go to YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, or Twitter, and feel free to just put your questions into the chat. And throughout the hour, Carl Diggerness and Jason Morrow from City Church will be picking questions out of that, and then we'll be able to ask several of those at the end of the event. So to kick things off, we wanted to start with music because that is such an important element of the film. And so I want to throw it over to Diana to tell us a little bit about our first song.
Thank you, Mina. The first song we're going to hear is a song that I wrote called Libre y Serena, which means free and serene. And I'm going to be accompanied by the beautiful Magik Magik String Quartet. And this arrangement was made by our dear friend Nahuel Broncini. And it's a song that I wrote and that today I dedicate to all of us who are in search of a place to call home, who look for a place where we feel safe and where we feel free and serene, and hoping that we all get there and that we fight so that everybody can get there. And so here is Libre y Serena. Enjoy it.
Vas caminando y no sabes qué hacer. Vas caminando y no puedes ni ver. Y te ocultas del tiempo y llegas al mar. Llegas muy lejos, vuelves a empezar. Y preguntas ¿por qué quieres volver? Volver a la arena caliente, a los pasos ligeros, a las fotos del baúl, a los ojos sinceros, al cálido viento, a la eterna mañana, al tiempo que te alcanza para dar y para amar. Vas recordando que el dinero no es todo, que el tiempo gastado en puro trabajo no está bien invertido, que prefieres abrazos a un lindo vestido y que el tiempo no vuelve, el tiempo no vuelve, el tiempo no vuelve, el tiempo no vuelve. Y por eso te vas, y por eso te vas a la arena caliente, a los pasos ligeros, a las fotos del baúl, a los ojos sinceros, al cálido viento, a la eterna mañana, al tiempo que te alcanza para dar y para más, a la casa rosada, al calor que faltaba, a la puerta color azul, a tu vida llenita de luz, 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 a tu vida llenita de luz. Y por eso te vas, y por eso te vas, sin avisar. Libre y serena, libre y serena,
Ugh. Well, I really hope you enjoy this. Everybody sounded so beautiful. So what's coming next is we pre-recorded, Diana, Mina, and I last week a conversation talking in depth on some of the scenes of the film. So you will also be able to see little snippets of the film here. So I really hope you enjoy this conversation.
Well, you know, for our events, we wanted to take a look at some of the scenes from the movie and discuss, you know, what they represent and some of the behind the scenes fun stories behind them. So.
The very first time I came to the United States, to Michigan, I came here knowing no English, and I was living with my aunt. I had looked into schools in Michigan to go get a music degree, and I found out that Grand Rapids Community College had a music degree with emphasis in recording technology, so it was perfect. I gathered all the paperwork to become an international student, but I kept getting denied. Just things didn't work. So I came to the country legally, but then I overstayed and went through school as an undocumented person.
Cuando Diana se va a Estados Unidos, pues claro que deja un hueco, ¿verdad? Cada hijo que sale, pues va dejando un vacío, ¿no? En la casa. Sin embargo, el saber que están buscando sus anhelos, su vida, pues para mí es más importante que cualquier otra cosa.
When Mexico sends its people, they're not sending their best. They're bringing drugs, they're bringing crime, they're rapists.
So I just want to say, when I first saw that, I've known Diana now for, I don't know, had like 6 years or so.
Since 2012 at least, so more like 8.
Yeah, 8 years. Yeah. Wow. And, you know, of course, we met in California. We met in the Sunny Mission District. That, like, to see you in such a stark, different environment was so startling.
So for me, moving from the desert, from hot weather, from a very dull city like it is Ciudad Juarez, was a very radical move. That's also adding to the fact that I did not speak more than 10 words of English. And also I moved to a part of Michigan where there weren't many kids like me or even like Mexican kids. I moved to a little town called Holland, Michigan. And so it was it was hard. Like I didn't find a lot of kids that I could talk Spanish with, which also meant that I was able to learn the language rather quickly because I had to, right? It was my only way to sort of survive. I was only 13 years old. So if I wanted to make it as a teenager, I better learn it and learn it fast so that I could fit in. And so, yeah, I love that scene of the snow because it really does show a little bit of how radical this move was for me when I was 13 years old, when I first arrived in this country.
Wow. What about you, Claudia? Can you walk us through a little bit of your thinking and filming that and shooting that, and if it struck you at all, you know, how it struck you to see her in that environment?
When I arrived to the United States, I also arrived in Connecticut in winter.
Oh, wow.
But I've never seen such big lake frozen. And that really was something else. Like you could see the waves frozen, like the whole thing, the whole picture was insane to me because it's this very red lighthouse and everything is white and everything is frozen. And there is this Diana with her like black hair and like her winter clothing. And I, from my imagery point of view, I was like, this should be the beginning of this film because it just looked very beautiful. So I wanted to kind of like have that beginning of harsh environment, but also the strength, like to show also the strength that you need as a human being to start a journey in an environment like that.
And I want to add, and also because you mentioned the word beautiful, like you actually found it beautiful. Yes, harsh, but beautiful. And I think it is important to mention that for me, being in Michigan also meant, I think it's so easy to fall into the, oh, my grading is hard and there's so many hardships and you leave behind. But there's also, there's a reason, especially in my story, right? Like I did not flee violence per se, or specific violence, or I wasn't fleeing for some of the reasons that some people have to leave, right? Or have to flee. They must leave in order to survive or to provide for their children. That's not my story. However, and so I did move to Michigan, and the reason why I decided to stay is I fell in love with the place too, right? Especially coming from the desert where everything's dull, kind of gray, no trees, no vegetation, no Lake Michigan, because lake, there are different kinds of lakes. Lake Michigan, it's a glorious, beautiful body of water. It's not just any lake. And so I did fall in love with that place, with its beauty. And so I think it is important to say that also drew me to stay. And it was just so inviting. And I think that's why, I wanted to learn the language and I wanted to be happy there, because I was already so enamored by this place. And so it is important to note that it's not all hard and harsh. And
well, why don't we go ahead and watch the next clip.
Going to California, it really changed things for me because, for one, as far as the immigration status, I felt I could be more open. There were many, thousands of people like me, people in the arts, in the music scene. I just felt more accompanied and I felt more supported. And I feel that at least I could be open about it. Nobody was judging me.
Sin permiso y sin papel, porque todo de la tierra ha venido y sin documento es. Soy sin permiso y sin papel, porque todo aunque no tenga permiso sigue estando vivo, vivo. El aire que respiro no pregunta si es que voy o vengo, cuánto gano o cuánto tengo, o si amarillo, negro, blanco es mi color, porque entonces les gana la duda y la cruel interrogación.
But watching that, the word that comes to my mind is spellbinding. That's like listening to Diana's voice. For one, Diana, you're such an amazing performer, and your voice and your soul are so intertwined that you can hold. There are some performers who can just hold an audience in the palm of their hand. Like you can hear a pin drop and they're just waiting for the next note, the next sound. And you have that, you have that in you. You're one of those types of performers that, watching this clip, and then when it starts to cut away to all the scenes of the city, I feel like I'm still just spellbound by the voice, and it's just kind of carrying you all over the city and all the different streets, and you can't look away. It's you're under a spell. And I think, Diana, your music does that, but Claudia, your images just marry so well with that feeling. It never breaks the spell. That's what I'm trying to say. It's just so lovely. But maybe this time we'll start with you, Claudia, on why you picked this scene to share in particular.
One, because it's the total opposite of arriving to Michigan.
It's the mission.
So I think it's an important thing. Also, with this, with the theme of the event too, of like knowing how important a community is, and like how important it is when you find you are in a place where people respect you no matter where you're coming from. So I think this is kind of like the main thing, because the reason why I chose this, because I feel that in Diana's story, and many people's stories, immigrants that come from other places, this is such a sacred place. I think the Bay Area in general is a welcoming place, and that makes a difference. Like that can change your life completely. And I do feel that in Diana's life, it did change her life, and I think that's why she became this like this strong performer, because you are a strong performer, but also you had a ground that sustained you and made and like kept you there, and is keeping you there still. Like is welcome you, it embraced you, and kind of like brought you up, like nurture you. And when you say this of her enchanting voice, I also feel that when she is finally screaming
Yes.
to the world,
oh my gosh, I saw that. I was like,
I am without permit and without papers, and I'm here and I'm screaming at you. She is also in this city screaming that freely,
yes,
without being afraid of anything. And that I think that's what the Bay Area is this place where you can just scream out yourself, and it's just gonna reboot in beautiful ways to you, or bad ways as well, because like it's not all beauty, but it fits you. It's not that it's gonna expel you or turn you out or anything.
Diana, I've never heard you belt like that. That opening scene, you know, you have such a beautiful falsetto and your voice is like, you know, so comforting. And then to hear you just like belt that note and just hold it as long as you could possibly hold it was, I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. This is so good.
And that's so beautiful that you use the word belt, because I feel like, you know, because to me, belt, it's like, it kind of comes with like I think of like a pretty sound. And when I hear that, I don't hear it as pretty, but I love it. I kind of like the fact that I remember that performance so well. I think I had just gotten my green card, and
wow.
And but aside from that, I think even before I got my green card, coming to California, it's like I moved to a different world. And I am so grateful that Claudia put that scene where she put it with the music, with that song there, and with the scenes of California and of the mission. I just feel like I have so many things to say about that scene. I guess for one, musically, yes, it was like I just, California has allowed me or allowed me to finally say and admit and confront and share who I was. And there's nothing more beautiful for an artist than honesty. I mean, I've always, in my talks, whenever I go do presentations, I talk to students and I talk to other artists, you know, wanting to be artists, youth. You know, if there was one thing I could tell them is like honesty. Like, I think it doesn't matter, like, yes, talent is great, but if you have something honest to tell, to say, to do, to sing, even if it's 3 notes, but they're coming from your soul and they represent who you are, who, you know, your identity, they're part of your DNA, then you're going to be successful, because there's no way around it. It's people get attracted to things and to people that are honest. And so when I lived in Michigan, not even my closest friends knew about my status. And so like, I get a little teary because I just kind of seen it in the film, you know, to kind of look back at my own life of how much I held back. Which at that time it was okay. I didn't whine about it. I didn't, because, you know, I was too busy like learning my repertoire, and like, and life must go on. And you're young, you know, I was young. I had all the energy to put in all the work that I needed to put in. And however, coming to California, it's almost like now I allow myself to look back and to be like, wow, I did hold a lot. And music allowed me to let it all out, not just through words, you know, whenever I be at a rally, immigration rally, or speaking in schools and during concerts, but also through music and through the lyrics and through my voice and through the belting, you know, that you're talking about. For me, that was more like screaming, like just sigh. Because even if you hear the placement of my voice, it's kind of like a rough placement, you know, like I'd be interested to see what a vocal coach would think about that note. But I don't mind it. I kind of like that it's kind of rough and kind of, it's like I'm saying soy, sigh. It doesn't really have a specific word, even though I am trying to say I am. Something as powerful as I am, California, allow me to say it from deep within. I could say that the Mission District in San Francisco was my formation as far as being a performer and a musician and a social justice activist, because the Mission is home to so many cultures, to so many movements, to so many communities that I could go on and on and on about the Mission District and about my love for San Francisco and for the way in which it welcomed me. And I think that's why I'm so grateful for this conversation, Nina, because it feels really good to be dissecting these scenes. It's almost like now the film has a different meaning, or I'm starting to see even deeper meaning within the scenes as we're doing this with you, Mina. So thank you, City Church, for this opportunity, because it's allowing me to relive that and to really think further and deeper into what those scenes mean, and thank Claudia again for choosing what she chose to put on there. And so
we've known each other for so long, but a lot of our interactions is like on a gig, you know, so it's just like it's like we have to like, we're talking about rehearsal letters more than we're talking about her college experience.
right, exactly.
So it's so nice.
And I also go ahead.
I also think that for me, following Diana throughout this time, I feel like there was also some sort of liberation when you got your green card. In terms of the way you performed after, I think there was like a weight that was not with you anymore. And I mean, with that weight is like that perfection and like that, like more proper and more like it was everything. It was so it's so perfect. But I think, and because I'm more a punk rocker, I love when things are more raw. And I feel that rawness kind of like I started to see that in your shows, and I was like, yeah.
Yeah, like more unapologetic, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, and I think it's, you know, this whole thing about documents and having the proper, and also the narratives that we hear, right? And that scene too, I think it's beautiful for another reason, the one where I'm singing, belting out, because what you see on the back is #UndocuFest.
Yes, I saw that.
And so never in my life I would have imagined I would be so open that we would even have letreros, that we would have signs, right? In Michigan, I didn't know another person who was undocumented, who was out, right? Nobody, it was like the disease of, it's something you did not talk about, period. And so that was very symbolic to me too, to be in a festival where we have signs and everybody's coming out, you know, and yeah, and a festival for undocumented people, you know, like how much more free can you feel in an environment that it's speaking and screaming at you, I welcome you and you belong here and I represent you, or you can feel represented. And so that's what San Francisco is giving us.
It celebrates you. It's like
yeah, exactly. Not just accepting, but also celebrating me and others who might feel otherwise, not just not celebrated, but condemned, right?
The journeys that we all at some point or another embark on when we are searching for home, whatever that may mean. Home as body, home as a physical place, home as a state of being. So we are here to celebrate that right that we have to feel home, to feel at home, to leave home, to stay home, to look for a safe home in a foreign land.
Before I am a daughter, before I am a girlfriend, before I am Mexican, before I am this, before I am that, before I am a student, I am a human being.
I would love to know your thinking behind what that opening scene represents, where she's walking and she's placing the branches and the shot through the glass, like the small window and things like that, and your kind of the thinking behind all those shots and those scenes.
In a way, kind of like has the whole meaning of this film, which is this right of what Diana is saying, this right to look for home or to find home, or to that question of what home is, and the freedom that we all should have to look for that home, or that place where that we are looking for in our lives. And I feel the little house and the way she's making home in this abandoned place, making roots in a place when you arrive to new places, and it's kind of like decorating them in a way, or getting a little bit of what is there, but making it yours and making it your home. This is one of my personal favorite scenes of the whole film. Also, the way we found this when we were in the road trip, it was beautiful because she stops everywhere and she sees something and she's like, okay, let's stop here. And she was driving, and then we were going on this very empty road, and then we saw a series of empty houses like this. And it was weird because it almost looked like old movie sets or something, or like, I don't know, it was like a very strange landscape. So we finally stopped in this one, and then Diana started doing these things, and I was just filming her, and I think I just made her do a few things inside the house that didn't make it to the final cut. But the way she started interacting with the space was very beautiful, and I was just there like following her from different places. And then putting it together, it just made so much sense to me when I was ensembling everything. Because as I say before, I think it has the whole meaning of this, like this right to make home or find home. And then we go to the protests where people is fighting for that. Being humans is also being migrants, and we've been nomads since we are on this earth. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here. So I think it's our natural state to migrate.
And this particular protest, I believe, is when DACA got rescinded for a little bit, right? I think that's what it was.
Yeah.
Kids protected under this status don't really know if next week they're gonna get their visas taken away from them. So it's like a very torturous way to live. And really Trump, I think for the past few months, every Tuesday we're supposed to hear whether this gets reversed or not, so it's like that whole theme around dreamers or DACA students or DACA kids. It really hits my heart. So
our church is going through these 3 themes for the year. It's called the 3 friendships. The first theme was friendship with God, then friendship with the city, and then friendship with our neighbors. And right now we're in the friendship with our neighbors part of the 3-part series. So what does friendship mean to me? But like also, what does the word neighbor mean to you?
I think it's vital to our own existence as human beings, and I think if we nurture that a little bit more, I think we can become a better society in general.
And I think it's also important to note that Claudia and I come from cultures that are very rooted in neighbor love, I guess. My next door neighbors were like my family. And so it's kind of like a high standard, right, for like what being a neighbor is. And so I kind of do acknowledge that it's also cultural.
When I look at like even just the parts of the film that we've seen already and like the stories, like I feel like people who pop into me as like good neighbors. You mean like the owner of the tamale parlor who paid what we would consider a generous artist paycheck, and not just paying as little as possible and trying to squeeze the life out of somebody, because they value that how artists can flourish with just a little bit of generosity, a little bit more than you think. And the people at the protest who were marching alongside, all the dreamers and things like that, like this is it kind of strikes me as like neighborly behavior.
In retrospect, I feel that everything that we experience serves a purpose. You don't really know what that purpose is until you've lived your life. And I feel like it's not that my life is ending now, but like I can really see in retrospect, I've gotten to a point where I could see why I had to go through some of the hardships and some of the struggle I went to. So I had enough struggle so that I could be open and empathize to the stories of others, and also enough privilege that I was able to do exactly what I am doing right now. The combination of struggle and privilege, and my story as it is, can serve a purpose so beautiful. Like I wouldn't even be able to imagine it, what we do, like the impact that what we do has. And so it's also a lesson in accepting who we are and what we have and what life is giving us and what we make with it, right?
Yeah, just Claudia and Diana, thank you so much for making time to do this Zoom, and the scenes are gorgeous. The film comes out June 3rd. Okay, well, we're going to throw it to Q&A and throw it to the other feed. But thank you so much for doing this with us. And I'm so excited to share this gorgeous documentary with our whole community and our family at City Church and beyond, Bay Area and beyond. So congratulations on
Thank you
finishing this beautiful project. And I will see you in the other feed.
Thank you.
Bye. Yes. Hi, everybody. Welcome back. Welcome back again to Claudia and Diana. We were watching that little deep dive along with you. And we are so lucky here at City Church and in San Francisco. Anybody watching this to be able to pick your brain, Claudia, to pick your brain, Diana, and find out more about each of your lives and how they relate to this beautiful film. So we've been kind of collecting questions for the past 40 or so minutes, and I have a handful here that I wanted to throw at each of you. Our first question is, it's very difficult to be an artist in the Bay Area right now. This is even pre-COVID, just like the Bay Area in general, which I'm sure we can all relate to. There's three of us on the call right now who all work in the arts or in music. I guess the question person is asking, what has kept you here? What keeps you here? I don't know. Why don't we start, Claudia, with you?
What keeps me here? That's a good question. I've been trying to escape many times, but I always come back. I think the main thing that keeps me here is the community that is with me, that I think I've created. Like some of the most dear friends I have live here, and I think that's what keeps me here. I think the Bay Area is it looks so fancy, Jason, with the names and everything. It's so professional.
Yeah.
Hi, everybody. We're back. Sorry so much about the slight technical difficulties, but we are back. So I've been told that we are on YouTube, but that we are not on Facebook. So if you could just open a new browser window, youtube.com, you should be able to find us. But when we left off earlier, we were kind of in mid-question, and the question had been thrown to Deanna, and it's a little bit of a tough one, but how can we make the Bay Area a better place for artists?
I mean, the first thing that comes to mind. Well, I opened up that response with saying, "What is better? What is better? What does better mean, right?" And I think that means a different thing for different artists, because there are some of us who may have our steady gigs, or there are even some artists who are unionized. There are some artists that are completely freelancers, and I mean, we all come in so many different shapes and forms, and so so that's for one, right? It's like defining what does better mean for everybody, but also kind of like a constant that I see in this area too is that we are very resilient and very community oriented, and we can mobilize and we can organize and we can petition and we can go out there, and we have developed this muscle, you know, like organizational muscle, and this muscle of advocating or fighting for what we need, and being vocal about it. And we're performers, right? And we have platforms. And so I think if we continue to do that and maybe take it to the next level, right? Maybe organize even better to a point where we start legislating, so that we are being taken care of more at a legislative level. And so those are the things that come up for me. But it's definitely a tough question. I mean, it's but still I feel like, I'm still here, and again, I think it's because community, I believe in my community, and I still feel supported amidst all the chaos, and the uncertainty. I feel like we'll make it through, and we are creative beings after all. And so I think somehow we find a way to pull through. And I know that this won't be the exception. It takes work, right? And it takes struggle and suffering, and yeah, many of us may have to leave eventually, but we're gonna keep fighting the fight. I mean, it sounds super, redundant, but yeah,
that's a fabulous answer. We have another question. This is for Deanna. It's music related. Which musicians have you admired the most on your journey?
Well, I think for me, it's always been the constant of whatever musicians were integral to their art and honest to their art, who didn't really who didn't make art, to become famous, or who stuck to their ideals, and I can think of people that come to mind are people back from, the beginning of last century, like Violeta Parra, musician, singer-songwriter from Chile, who carry the torch of singing for oppressed people without sacrificing beauty. Her poetry and her musical abilities and her wit, she was very witty, was just so in line with the message, but so in line with beauty. And then I can also tell you of more pop mainstream artists. I love Feist, for example, right? Like a musician from Canada who had a hit song on all of the Apple commercials, and then her next record, it was very obscure, and then her later record was even more obscure, kind of dark, what the heck is this record about? And she didn't care. She just went for it because so you could tell that she was integral. My dear friend Natalia Lafourcade, she's a musician from Mexico, very big superstar, and yet she's making albums that are coming from her soul, very radical albums. She risks the fact that her fans can say, what are you doing? This is not what you're used to doing. And yet she does it, and so for me, it's artists that don't conform to the norm. We can go even further back. I could also maybe name Beethoven, one of my favorite classical composers. He changed the way classical music, he was the composer who moved us through different eras in the classical music, and he didn't care, and he was judged for it, and he suffered for it, and we almost lose him, but he stood up and kept doing his thing. He was honest to himself and integral. And so anybody who fits in that, Fiona Apple, anybody who fits in that category of making music that sticks to their that it's integral and that doesn't lose sight of who they are and what they want to say from the heart, those are my peeps. Yeah, that's what I look up to.
What a great calibration and a great rule set on naming artists who inspire you. That's so funny. I was listening to Beethoven's Seventh Symphony on repeat today for some reason. So it must have been something was in the air, something in the air. This is a funny one or a quick one. Deanna, when are you coming to LA?
As soon as this, I have really dear friends. I love LA. I have dear friends in Santa Ana, my friends from Solar. I go visit them very regularly. So as soon as this, is over, and we go back to the new world, I want to call it the new world. We shouldn't go back to the old ways. So pretty soon, check out my website for updates and for dates in which I might be in your city.
This question is for Claudia. I'd love to hear more about your creative process in this film or finding your voice to share your story.
Well, yeah, I'm still in that process of finding my voice. But this project is very special because I think I think I had the opportunity to dive a little bit deeper in that voice. I have a lot of work to do still, but I think I did explore a lot of how to tell documentaries in a more poetic way, because I think that's kind of like what comes up for me naturally, and I think that's the way I like to tell stories better. So far, I might change everything in, I don't know, who knows, but so far, that's me.
No, the film it truly is poetic. That's like the perfect word for it. I remember watching it, I didn't know what to expect. There are more gritty documentaries. There are more just like kind of here are the facts and let me tell it to you straight. But this is not that style. It really is. It feels like a poem. It's about it's about our friend. It's about her life, but it is not just facts and the basics and no frills or no fluffer. But it's just there's this aura. There's a softness around the storytelling of the film that just kind of like draws you into. It's almost this dream world, even though we know it's real, but it does ride that line.
Oh, that means a lot to me, because I think that's also an obsession that how to get into the dream world in a real thing, like, because oh, my dog, she has a lot to say about I think one of the big questions, at least with my craft, is with documentaries. Hold on.
And that's one of the reasons why I started working with Claudia in the first place, because I was so attracted to her dream-like art. I checked out her website and I'm like, who is this person? Like, because and everybody should check out Claudia's website and all of her stop motion animation and her dreamlands. She creates these beautiful dreamlands. And so anyway, I wanted to entertain people while you entertain Tola.
I'm going with my dog. She has a lot to say too. Yeah, I guess like the dream world mixed with reality is kind of like the realm where I want to dive even further and further, and how to tell stories with those two worlds at the same time. So Dear Homeland has definitely been one of the projects that I had the opportunity to search more, to film more, also because it's a longer project, and also it's like about Diana, and Diana is a poetic being. So it was also like I had the perfect person to follow and explore this as well, because also one of like her music is very, very poetic, and I really love the way she tells the immigrant story through these poems, and her music that is just like it goes straight to your like bones. So I also had this beautiful gift of being able to follow her and then dive into these two worlds of her life and her music and my dream crazy weirdness inside.
Well, You did it so successfully. It is. I've only seen it once all the way through. I'm kind of saving to see it again on June 3rd, but I think I wasn't even a fifth of the way into the film, and I had already cried like 2 separate times. And that was just the beginning. It's so touching, and it's so beautiful. It's I feel like in this time everything is so fast, and it's like there's no time, we've got to move on. And lots of TV is like that. Internet videos are like, oh, if you don't get them in the first 2 seconds, whatever that statistic is, and they're just going to scroll past and they're going to forget about you. And in that world, to watch a film where you linger for so long on just one embrace, and you don't look away, and you don't cut away, you don't rush off to something else, is so refreshing and really enchanting, and it kind of fills your soul in a way that I feel like we all need right now in this moment. So thank you so much.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. So I think it's 8:30. So I think we're gonna kind of wrap it up. I want to definitely say go to dearhomelandfilm.com and get your ticket. The film opens on June 3rd, which is just next week. Sponsored by KQED, directed by Claudia. It's about Diana. It's gorgeous. We're going to wrap up this event with another performance, and the song is called En Juarez, and it's how I met Diana. It's the first time she ever reached out to me and said, I want a string arrangement, and maybe we can work together. And
Didn't you take a break from City Church to come and meet me? Because we met at a cafe right across the street from City Church.
Oh my gosh, really?
Yeah, I remember that meeting so well, because it's the first encounter I had with you. Were my shiro. What am I gonna say? I was like, oh my gosh, working with Mina is gonna be such a dream. And so I remember that first date so well.
Oh my gosh, I think I know it was probably at Matcha Cafe right across the street from our office.
Yeah, that's right.
That's so neat.
From the office, yeah.
Yeah. But this song, I mean, I feel like I've heard it so many times, and it still gives me the chills. When I approached the string writing for it, I had in my head, I don't know, maybe we talked about this together, but I felt like the verses of this song are something in black and white, and the choruses just open up and become color film. It's like the difference between reality and fantasy, between the verses and the choruses. And that kind of came to kind of bite me in the ass a little bit this week, because we were doing the mixes, and I was talking to Adam Munoz, who's our amazing mix engineer, and the strings, with the string in it. And I was like, I had this image of my head because of this black and white color. I kept having Wizard of Oz in my head, and I was like, I want the strings to feel like they're like a tornado, and they just take Diana up and and drop her in this other world. And I got it back, and the strings were incredibly loud, but I was like, no, that's right. And then, I watched it the next day, and I was like, oh my gosh, that was way too loud. So we had to go back to Adam and be like, can you bring the strings down a little bit? And I was texting with Claudia, and I was like, we need to bring this tornado down to just a small hurricane. Some light drizzle.
And there goes a lesson in audio, right? Audio technique. You let the audio that you've been listening to rest for a day. You listen back the next day.
Yeah. Yes. Fresh ears.
Yes. Yes. I have a degree in recording technology, my friends. Don't forget.
No.
I never use it, but I only use it to make comments, to show up, to come across as.
Oh yeah, totally. Bring it down a half a dB.
Yeah. Split the difference.
Yeah, split the difference.
It was such a joy to work with you on that string arrangement. I learned so much. I remember. Can I tell more stories about that? Sure. I remember another reason why I admire you is because, we need more representation in the artistic world. I felt so represented by you, because here you are, such a leader in what you do, and you were the leader of Magik Magik Orchestra. You were at Tiny Telephone, writing arrangements and just kind of holding it down. And you had assistants, like you had an assistant, and you also worked at City Church. Like, I just admire you so much. And I remember that we were working on the arrangement, and I was trying to communicate something that I was like, no, maybe we should. And you very clearly, very like, just like it was nothing for you. You said, you can tell me. You were just so straightforward. You said, Diana, if there's something you don't like, feel free to tell me. But you told me in a way that I was like, yes, like, this is such a badass woman. Like, I admired you even more because you were kind of being like very, like, I don't want to say impatient, because impatient is not the word, just kind of like setting it how it was. And I loved it. And so, like, from there on, I knew that could not be the last time I worked with you. And that's why I commissioned you again in the future. And we've worked together ever since. So I am just so happy and thankful for you. Thank you, Jason Morel, too, for being, for doing the technical work for this. And Carl Diggerness, too, City Church. Thank you so much.
Yeah, so the song is in Juarez, and I would love to have Diana take us out on the song, tell us a little bit about what it's about, and then that will be the end of our program. And thank you all so much for joining us.
Yeah, so I originally wrote this song with my hometown, Ciudad Juarez, in mind, a town that was infamous for, for its crime, for its feminicides, and yet this was a city where I grew up. It was a city that was still, inhabited by people, and there were ways in which people were still making the city come to life. And in the song, I address the warning of a mother toward her children, saying, we must be careful. It's a dark world out there, and yet, come, my children, I'm going to tell you a different story, a story of love, a story of light, a story of dreams. And so, yes, there is that hurricane section that you heard very right, Mina. But then we go back to the yellow path, and not to put a romantic or a smiley face on it, but it's because we can find joy in these dark places. And that's why I wanted to show this song today amidst the world that we're living in, and really also want to just take 2 seconds to honor the lives of our Black brothers and sisters who are in pain right now, and their pain should be our pain. This song, at this moment, I want to dedicate it to those mothers who have lost children, to those mothers in detention centers, but also focusing on the love that still exists, and the hope that we can still have and we can fight for, so that we can all come back to the light and to the love, and to remind us that life will go well. We have to put in the work. We have to learn and unlearn many things, but we can do this, and we should do it, and we're going to do it together. So here is in Juarez, and I also want to shout out to the beautiful members of the Magik Magik String Quartet, Liana Berube, Steph Bibbo, Ivo Bokulik, and Lucas Chen. Thank you so much for putting your soul into this music. Thank you, Nahuel Pancini, for the arrangement, and everyone who made this possible. Claudia Escobar, I love you. Thanks for all the work.
I love you.
And thank you all for spending your Friday evening with us. The sun's coming down. I don't have any lights on.
I know.
But thank you so much. We love you, and thanks for sharing this time with us.
El aire tiene olor a que alguien murió.
Prende la vela, hijita, no llegues tarde, Estelita, que la noche te alcanza y no te vuelvo a ver, y no te vuelvo a ver. Van ya más de 20 veces que la ves espantar y el alma no aguanta de ver pasar los rostros sin vida. No mires, mi niña, es por tu bien, mira que es por tu bien. Deja mejor que te cuente del día en que era todo verde. Corrías y yo no buscaba, no hacía falta saber dónde estabas. Deja mejor te cuento de los sueños eternos, del aire que cruza los cercos, de este amor que ahora te ofrezco, mi niña. Verás que la vida va bien, verás que la vida va bien. El aire tiene olor a que alguien murió. Cierra la puerta, hijito, no quiero escuchar el rito de los tiros que danzan, te hacen caer, ay, que te hacen caer. Deja mejor que te cuente del día en que era todo verde. Corrías y yo no buscaba, no hacía falta saber dónde estabas. Deja mejor te cuento de los sueños eternos, del aire que cruza los cercos, del amor que ahora te ofrezco, mi niño. Verás que la vida va bien, verás que la vida verán que la vida va bien.